Before we jump into answering the question of what does it mean to be a community leader, it's important to take a stab at two important components that we have here. One, community. Two, a leader. So what is a community? There are different types of communities. One, community of interest, which is a community of people who share the same interest or passion. Two, communities of actions, and those are people who are trying to bring change. A community that has a goal and a use of a collective power to make change. Third, a community of place is for people who are united by a geography or a location. Then four, the community of practice. Those are people who are in the same profession or practicing in the same activities. And fifth and last, communities of circumstances, communities of people brought together by external events or situation, which is not of their making. So by those five communities, there are different types of leaders that we need to develop for each of them. So what is a leader? And before I jump into this question, I would like you to take a few minutes to think of people who are leaders for you. Any leaders you can nominate? Take a few seconds or minutes. So who is a leader? It's a complex question with a simple answer. A leader is you. Everyone, anyone can be a leader in their own capabilities or capacities. Napoleon said, a leader is a dealer of hope. So what's leadership? It's a big notion that we hear all the time. For me, I like the notion of servant leadership. Someone who cares more about the collective rather than the individual. Someone who works together with the team or with a group of people to accomplish a vision, while at the same time sharing responsibilities, sharing power, looking after the well-being of the people surrounding him, inspiring and motivating the group of people around him or her. I'll add to these principles of servant leadership and notions that are very important and crucial to define servant leadership. One, a servant leader is someone who can be a great follower. While sharing responsibilities and power with some of the team members of the people around him or her, the leader can be a great follower to someone who has the responsibility. So it's not about holding that power. Two, a servant leader is someone who listens very well, listens to everyone before taking a decision, even if it's becoming more difficult right now with the VUCA, with the ambiguity, with the uncertainty, the complexity, and the changing world that we live in today. We need to take fast decisions. But a servant leader is someone who takes time to listen and balance between being fast and being a great leader. Third, a servant leader is someone who has empathy. They strive to understand and empathize with others, with the context where they are. They don't just move on when there is a problem and not take the right time to solve the issue. And last, a servant leader is someone who pays attention to contextual intelligence. Being aware of the people around you, the audience, the context is very important nowadays. And by that, adapting the way that leader interacts with the others, with the audience, the choice of words used and the choice of actions used is very important in this case. So how can we become an effective community leader? And I would love to share with you two approaches. One, looking at it from the vantage point, and two, look at it from what's the prerequisite of engagement. So if we look at the vantage points, and you can see this model looking like a topographic map, which was developed by the M.G. Taylor. And I love that it's looking like a topographic map, especially that we are talking and we are in the context of nature. And you can see it going from a core to the sides and going from philosophy to the top. So why this approach is important? And it helps us to move from one approach to another. And it's important also that all the people are talking in the same level. So when we look at the vantage points, you look from the core at the philosophy, and that's where you should start. Why you are the leader of this community, or why you are trying to become the leader of this community, why this community exists. And you need to solve this equation of the philosophy of what you are trying to do in order to move forward. After the philosophy, you'll move to the culture. Who are the people around you? Who is this community for? Who are the people who will be helping and supporting you? 3, the policy. How are we developing processes to sustain this community? 4, strategy. What are we trying to do? And how can we have a strategy to help us achieve what we're trying to do? Philosophy, why? So you cannot have the what before the why. And then you look at the tactical. How are we trying to solve this or build this community, or you being the community leader? Then the tasks. Then you jump to the tasks. What actions do you need to do? So if we look at the vantage points, it's a model that is really can help in helping you becoming an effective leader. The second approach is, what's the prerequisite of engagement? For me, it's one word: trust, which means no fear. If you are an effective community leader, people around you should not fear you. They should admire you because you are inspiring them, you are motivating them. So how can we build trust? And a close look into what are the underminers of trust makes it rather easier to build trust. So let's look at what destroys trust. 1, lack of integrity. You will not admire or you will not love to work with someone who lacks integrity. 2, unfair treatment. How can you be a leader for everyone, not only for some people? So unfair treatment can be seen, can be felt by everyone, and even if you think that it's not the case. 3, lying. I think people know when BS is in the air, so please, no lying. 4, lack of authenticity. Are you bringing your genuine you into this action? Are you vulnerable with your team, with your people? So lack of authenticity doesn't build trust. Absence of protection. Are you protecting them? That's how you can build trust, by people knowing that they got you and that you have their backs. The other aspect is lack of decision making. And it's important here to balance between not taking a decision and leaving space to people to grow, to bring the responsible themselves to the equation, and taking a decision when it's the right moment. So we need to balance this aspect so that we can help build this trust. And the last aspect is withdrawal. If you are withdrawing, then people will not respect you, they will not trust you. And by withdrawing, when there is a problem, you're not there to support your team or your community, you're not there to take the decision. And that's very important so that we can build trust, because it's an important prerequisite of engagement if you want to be an effective community leader. Sustaining communities is even harder than building communities. And I would love to share with you the approach that was developed by Daniel Shapiro, a Harvard professor, and as well as he's the founder and director of the Harvard International Negotiations Program. And Daniel Shapiro looked at it from three perspectives. One is value proposition. What's the value proposition that you are bringing to the table? And I think here, that's a work that everyone does when they build a community or they build a company or they try to break a deal in a conflict. And it's stakeholder mapping. You design the process, you bring the value proposition to the table. And I'm not gonna stay here because that's something, and if we look at it like an iceberg, that's the top of the iceberg. Everyone can see the benefits of joining a community, or they can see why this community exists. Value proposition is something that everyone pays attention to. But I'll focus on the second and the third aspect that Daniel Shapiro mentioned. The first one is the emotions, and you can look at it from a core concern. What are the emotions that people would like to have when they are in this community? And they are the glue that keeps the group together. They promote creative problem solving. They broaden our repertoire of possible actions and thoughts, and they produce a broad, flexible, cognitive organization and ability to integrate diverse materials. And here you are bringing people to your community. You want them to adhere to your values, to your why, the philosophy aspects that we talked about in the vantage points. So you want them to stick around. So you need to give them that positive experience. So there are 5 concerns that every one of us pays attention to, either consciously or unconsciously. And the first is appreciation. Everyone wants to feel appreciated. Everyone wants to feel understood and honestly valued. I think it's a no-brainer. So how can you make sure that you have aspects, you have methods within your community so that you can appreciate the work of people? It can come through giving them a certificate of appreciation. It can be just like a thank you during a meeting or a session. There are different ways, but you need to make sure that you are appreciating the work, you are acknowledging the reasoning and beliefs of these people, why they are here. The second aspect is building affiliation. And here we describe the sense of connectedness with another group or person. Often, we fail to recognize the commonality between groups. Building affiliation bridges the gap between groups and increases the ability to productively work together. So there is a structural affiliation, which is the recognition of a common group membership. The third aspect is to respect autonomy. We know that everyone loves autonomy, and it's giving the freedom to affect or make decisions. And it's important that people feel and have that autonomy. It's very essential. The fourth aspect is acknowledging the status. Do you have in your community status? Do you have, for example, an ambassador role? You have governance bodies? Do you have roles or status, that you can give to people so that they feel acknowledged, they feel appreciated? Fifth aspect is a role. So how are you giving people a role so that they can fulfill, so they feel that they have a sense of belonging within this community and within their lives? They need that sense of belonging. So a role help give some appreciation, give the affiliation, but also autonomy, as they will have responsibility and status. So it's important to give them that role. And that helps to build the emotional peace and to control that journey of anyone within your community, and thus sustaining it. The third aspect that Daniel Shapiro mentioned is around the identity piece. And here is to do or to work around the narrative. Are you giving a meaning to what holds us together in this community? What's the narrative of the identity that do we have? Do we have a rhythm? Do we have a chant? Do we have a song that holds us together? The identity can be the call into the higher purpose that your community calls the action to. What is the challenge your community is trying to overcome? What value and beliefs connects your community? What is the story that depicts your community's commitment to the higher purpose? And that higher purpose is important because it's connected to the identity of each one of us. And that will connect you to the identity of the group. You are looking here at the shared purpose between me, you, and you. What brings us together? And here you can tackle the identity piece by some symbolic actions, but also making sure that everyone understand your purpose, your mission. The symbols can be a badge of honor, can be a logo that unites everyone, that everyone, you can see it in some communities, they are proud to hold the flag of the logo of their community. They are proud to have a pin on their heart of their community. They are proud to have a secret handshake. Why not? Those are symbolic, but they play a big role in building that identity of the community and sustaining your community so that you can thrive. It's important to look at those three aspects as one bucket. You cannot just focus on a value proposition, or just focus on emotions, or just focus on the identity of your community. So it's one bucket that you as an effective leader, you need to pay attention to so that you can sustain your communities and hopefully help us, in this case, protect our nature.
Hi there! We hope you like this episode. For more information and resources about the ideas and tips discussed in this episode, check out the worksheet dedicated to support your changemaker journey. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on social media or visit youthforaplanet.com. See you in the next video!